future of personal development space online?
That's a great question. I'm not sure anyone's ever asked me. So, it's determined upon who you are, because I believe that there's such a size, scope, and scale to the audience,
Yeah.
and the need is going to continue to grow because awareness to looking within to find what you want outside of you is going to grow. So the more we start realizing the happier, healthier, wealthier, and worthier we are, the more will manifest outside of us, our relationships, every single thing. So I think there's so much good content out there. And in the way that I see things, content is by frequency. And I learned it through speaking. And so what I believe is anybody can get on stage, like Ricky when he first started. And 10%, because of frequency, 10% of the people will be in love with you. They'll actually, some of them will tell you that you changed their life, that it was the best speech they've ever heard, that it touched them, it resonated with them, regardless of what you said. It's a frequency. Then there's 10%, unfortunately for all of us, that are gonna turn you off. No matter what you say, they're gonna see it the wrong way. You're gonna be like oysters to them if they hate oysters or what. And I use food as a frequency analogy because there's light, love, and lessons in everything, but innately, there's certain things that we look at and there's a frequency and we're like in love with it, or frequency we don't like it. And food's the easiest thing, that you walk by something that you've never tried before and you're like, oh, and the other person's like, oh, that looks so good. So where I'm getting to in this personal development space is that we always have the 10%. And so no matter who you are, if you just are yourself, your frequency, and you stick to your frequency, you don't try to please you, try to please you, try to please you, try to please you, try to please you. If you stay consistent in who you are, you'll pick up 10% eventually of 7.6 billion people at your frequency. Those numbers are ridiculous. The problem is most people won't do it. I think adherence is probably my biggest superpower. Adherence being two things: remembering to do something and then actually doing it and prioritizing it. Because people that adhere will send the same frequency every day, either in person, on the phone, via email or media, and they'll be successful just off of the 10%. But with adherence, the nice thing is that you'll grow, and the big winners will be the ones that are the 80% in between. You'll never get the 10% that have closed mind, the people who hate you. You don't have to worry about them because they'll always hate you. Yeah. It's a frequency thing. So number one, the awareness of personal development is just the aspect of people looking within, right? Starting to figure out where the problem really lies and where the opportunity. One other thing that's distinguished, I think, in personal development is there's three items that people may or may not even realize. One is skills, right? So personal development could be skill training. Obviously technology and YouTube and a variety of other things make it so much easier to get trained. I mean, people can literally learn on YouTube more than 4 years in college, or 2 years in a training school on coding. You know, it's incredible. Then you have knowledge, is the second one. So personal development, the more we learn, and also not just the more we learn, but who. So it's what and who we know. This is two things that are important, which both, again, because of technology and because of the reach, size, scope, and scale of the audience, creates an abundant amount of opportunity. And then the interesting one for me is desire. And I think this is where I want to focus my attention and intention, because that's my specialty, is, you know, getting someone to be consistent, persistent in the pursuit of their potential, to must be what they can be. And also what excites me about desire, and you'll get this from sports as well, both of you guys, your skill and your knowledge, they set your basement. Your desire sets your potential. So, and this is true with wealth. Like, you know, you are born entitled, you have financial security. There's a certain basement that's different than the basement I was born into, right? My basement had a basement. That's how poor I was. But there's some rich people that their basement, and to be fair, when I was rich and I lost everything, my basement was much higher at bankruptcy from losing over $100 million than my basement was where I was born into. So your skills and your knowledge will determine your basement, your floor, but the desire determines your ceiling, your potential.
Sure.
So I want to focus personal development on helping people with the desire. You know, I don't want to train people how to sell all day. Like I could easily go into any major corporation and increase their revenue 10, 20% just from the sales skills I have. Now I incorporate that into helping people be inspired. But my main goal is to remember, recollect people that they're healthy, happy, wealthy, and worthy, and help them figure out what they're doing to interfere with it. And that desire stems from me, of faith that there's something bigger than me that loves me more than I love my children. It's that simple. And when I have doubt and fear and anger and anxiety and frustration and resentment and guilt and separation, inferiority, superiority, I just try to spend minutes and moments in it and remind myself, this can't be true.
Yeah.
This can't be true, because I have faith here. If I did, this is just an example that I'm being questioned, or I'm questioning my own faith, because there's no doubt that if there's truly an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing being, something bigger than me, and it cares about me even close to as much as I care about my children, then this is only for my promotion and protection, not for my punishment. And so I think personal development with personal development skills, knowledge, and desire will grow exponentially.
And I think it's also, just so I can add on that,
Yeah.
because like David, I'm a former athlete turned reformed Silicon Valley guy that now gets to hang out on the beach all the time. But there's a collective consciousness within personal development that's growing.
Right.
That is really cool. The guys like
Yeah.
you are jumping aboard and being like, hey, I've got this podcast. You just got me right now. You know,
Cool,
so it's one of
perfect.
those things. Now you got
Amazing.
into my mindset that when I take it's really funny because I did a couple projects for Google when I first started, and one of the guys gave me one of their founders' bikes. You know, their little campus bikes. It's badass little bike, and I get people ask me all the time on this. I'm just like, is it? And I'm just like cranking out whatever I've got in, whether it's David, whether it's Lewis Howes, it'll be you,
Lewis, yeah.
those guys, you know,
Yeah.
coming through. But we've got a bigger consciousness that's going on that's allowing more personal development to happen in my opinion.
Right.
You know, I see a lot more athletes, and I got into the sports world, you know, at an amateur level, and saw a lot more consciousness that's going on with this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things. I wrote a book on that because I'm a former baseball player, for amateur athletes. It says, here are things that you need to develop in your night, and not just because I was trained by a guy named Ken Revisa, who's passed. It's a big-time mental guy in baseball, but he was at not quite the level I would like that you go to in a lot of ways.
Sure.
That you look at.
Yeah.
You know, that you can bring in, like you talk about it, if the desire is there.
Yeah.
You know, you skyrocket.
Totally.
You know? But I think it's a grander consciousness that we're all going through that's really helping us develop. And I think I don't think it'll be stopped.
Right. I think just to follow up on that, you know, you mentioned Ricky Williams. You know, he's expansive thinker. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen some of his stuff. I think one of the things that I'm aware of is that right now in the personal development space, guys like Craig, right, taking this realm and going for it to the next level with mindset, which is great because I think mindset is almost everything. It's not everything.
Yeah, of course not.
Action.
Those three, there's mindset, heart set, and handset. I think there's three
What
things.
was the last one you said?
Handset, what you do. So,
Yeah.
so your mindset, your heart set, and then the handset.
But I asked the personal development because it's like everyone is. I feel like
welcome.
so many people are like doing the mindset stuff, including me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in there too. You know, talking to people like you about mindset. But like, then what? I think
Yeah.
that then what is kind of a struggle for some people.
Yeah, I think I was blessed to start with the handset. Like,
Yeah.
I just thought I could bully my way through anything and
Right.
outwork anybody. And so it's easier, I think, if you already do the grunt work, as I call it,
Yeah.
the handset work, and then move to this enlightened state. I think it almost is a detriment to people that are work ethic, you know, hardworking people, and then they're like, no, there's an easier way to do it. Like Craig's a good example of that because I coach him,
Right.
and we were just talking on the way here that I have helped him get out of his own way. because he's very much like I was about making it happen.
Right.
And I'm like, you don't make anything happen. You clear the interference so it will happen.
Right.
And you're not looking at the interference. Well,
Goya.
yeah, and
One of my favorites.
and it's so funny because ego, even in this game, like I catch myself, especially with like some of my bigger friends. And so if I get a stage that they don't get, then they're like, oh, I should be on that stage, right? Or why?
That ego stuff.
Yeah, and and yet, like I really stay as best I can at peace with no comparisons, that I'm my own frequency.
Yeah, I like that.
And I fit in way better in some situations, and other situations I don't.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so many opportunities, just feel blessed. So I think combined with what was talked about here, this consciousness will continue to provide those who believe it'll provide.
Well, it's also, there's a guy that lives pretty, have you ever heard of Jay Abraham?
Yeah.
Jay Abraham.
You know my podcast.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So he's a really cool guy. I mean, and this takes me back to '98 when I first got into tech, because this startup I was with hired him, and he changed everything. My mind was blown. But he lives near me in Palos Verdes, and I got a chance to get connected to him through friends, and he's going all in on podcasts with content that he's had for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, completely, and he's a great storyteller and just awesome at delivery. But these are the guys who are coming back into play, saying, "Hey, now we're joining. We've already been there in this ancillary piece, helping people so much, and he's helped,
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of dollars being made."
make a lot of money, help a lot of people out. Yeah. So anyway, I think there's an interesting perspective on big tech, is that I believe in aggregation. I believe in compound interest, and I believe in acceleration that's caused by the aggregation of good behaviors, bad behaviors. Things grow on themselves if they continue to stay consistent and persistent. Technology is building on itself. And you see it with AI especially, right? It just builds on itself. So what has happened though is that our curiosity and creativity is not accelerating and exponentially growing or compounding at the same rate in the man-made constructive time as technology. So our creativity and curiosity needs to catch up, because for the first time ever in history, technology, I believe, exceeds most people's imaginations.
That's crazy.
Like what technology can actually do exceeds people's imaginations.
Yeah.
And and I know that only from being in technology so early and holding up a smartphone in 1999 and telling someone someday, I was on Good Morning America with this phone, and I remember the lady producer at Good Morning America, and I said, she said, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen." I had a Bluetooth stylus, and yes, it didn't work like it does today. The battery wasn't nearly, it would burn out almost immediately, but it had a color Windows CE operating system. And I said, someday I'll be able to call a video call to China for free using voice over IP, which is ironic because Alex Machinsky, who's the CEO of Celsius Network, the unbank for crypto bank, $30 billion, he was one that took on the carriers for voice over IP in the 90s when I was there. But this lady looked at me like, literally, basically my technology exceeded, and now that's a daily occurrence. And so if we're not reading, really trying to expand the connection we have to that's why I trace calligraphies, right? Because it's the most efficient way that I download information, because I believe the universe is a technology far greater than the man-made materialistic constructs of technology that you hold in your hand. But I think that's the most interesting thing. Now, as far as big tech goes, I think, and this is the problem with our economy, right? We threw trillions of dollars at it. There's so many opportunities that, it's going to be the few that are going to be able to, the democratization of successful companies is going to help, because now everyone can have the exponentiality of getting in early.
What do you mean by that?
So through crypto, through NFTs, through the Jobs Act 9 years ago, that you don't have to be an accredited investor, crowdfunding.
DAOs.
Yeah, like we were democratized. It was only guys like me that could get in early on deals.
Yeah.
One, because we could afford it. Two, we were accredited. Three, we had the relationships to know about it. Now, everybody can get in. And that's why prices are crazy, but it's going to provide those people that are in the right things enormous wealth.
funny though, but like during the internet boom, I saw the creativity skyrocket when I was in Silicon Valley during those times. I mean,
Yeah.
companies that I was working, I mean, the shit I was selling was $250,000 you can get for free at Google now. You
Right.
know? And all the other companies that were like creating new things to build upon because the funding was so available. And let's just go IPO. You know, NASDAQ will take us. You know, and that was that. You know.
Yeah.
And people were able to keep building upon those. And then like even these dinosaur companies by today's standards, like a Cisco, would just go gobble you up. You know, like WebEx. WebEx was a company I was in with real early, and I'm like, Zoom? I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah. That's
You know?
Citrix, right?
Yeah. No, they're Cisco.
Cisco.
Yeah.
But was
they
Citrix
were-
originally in
Citrix
Santa Barbara,
was
right?
The other one, yeah. But
SIT.
they were the guys that were like first in the game. Now Zoom comes in with a really easy offering during the perfect time.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't even think about these guys. You know, they were 20 years old.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's so much opportunity that I believe that we're in an age of abundance, meaning there's so many people, so many opportunities, there's so much connectivity, and that people are getting confused because they're feeling overwhelmed. And the reason they're feeling overwhelmed is they don't know how to prioritize the opportunities.
100%.
If you feel overwhelmed, it means you're living in abundance because there's more than enough. And that's why I'm really teaching people to take care of the basic needs. Make sure that you're feeding yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, the good stuff. So 80% of your time should be at least with stuff that feeds you, not that you're feeding. And then, sleep. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I
Water.
just got into that.
Yeah. Water. I always say, in case you haven't heard me say it 10 times, but it's two of the most remarkable things in the world to me are, one, majority of people on earth go to sleep and wake up more tired than they went to sleep, which makes no sense. It's like we all go out to eat and we finish eating after 2 hours and we're all starving. We would say maybe we should eat something different or do something different. But for some reason, sleep, majority of people on earth are like, yeah, that's fine. I'm more exhausted today than when I went to bed, which doesn't make sense. And then the other one that really is surprising that will change the world is asking. So when people do something for someone else, they feel so good. And we're so afraid of allowing someone to feel good that we won't ask them to help us. We think it's somehow we're hurting them or putting them out, or you're so busy, or it doesn't make sense to me. And now it did, because I was definitely one of those people who never asked for help. Now, whatever reason, my perspective has changed that around, going, let me give you an opportunity. I'm raising money for this charity, or can you volunteer for this, or can you show up to this, or can you do this for me, or do you know anyone that can help me?
Yeah.
And guess what? If they can, they feel super good.
Be connected. Be
Yeah.
connected.
I will tell you this. I went to New York and I brought a lot of money, cash, and all $100 bills. So I decided that anybody I felt needed it, I was gonna look them in the eye, give them 100, not ask for 20 back, which is my 120 rule. Just look them in the eye, give them $100 and say, God bless you.
Cool.
So I will tell you that is the best money I've ever spent in my life.
Yeah, that's cool.
I know it had the most impact. I can't tell you how many people they were just crying with emotions. In one of my coaching clients who I met, he saw me and he said, doesn't that go against what you teach? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, don't you teach people to fish, not just give them fish? I said, no, I teach people to fish, but there's some people that aren't ready yet. And they just need a fish.
Right.
And there's some guys in New York that I gave that money to, and yes, I could have given him Connected to Goodness and told him your life will change if you read it, or if you say thank you before you go to bed. But he wasn't ready because he was starving to death or on drugs or mentally ill. And the best thing I could do for him is provide him food, drink, sleep, and air.
Yeah.
But it was amazing that, how good it felt. And, I gave some to my kids to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I always wondered if it was the money or the acknowledgement that meant the most to the people. Because I think a lot of the people that I gave it could have just been $1.
Yeah.
The fact that I looked them in the eyes and said, God bless you, that I acknowledge them. I don't believe all of them were so overwhelmed with just the fact I gave them $100.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Look, Marcus Lemonis and Rob Deerdeck are doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? That they're doing the tip stuff?
Yeah.
Like over tipping thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I didn't know Rob was.
Deerdeck's doing that too.
Deerdeck shows up. I knew he was doing it, but I didn't know until I met him. I didn't know like he's on my lives all the time. I thought it was a fake. So I never really said hi to him.
Yeah.
And then I showed up at his office and I came out of the elevator and he like knew everything about me. He created an app, a student of the calendar app.
That's cool.
He's taken time to another dimension.
He's amazing.
He is one of my boys. He is amazing. Yeah, he's throwing a party tomorrow night.
Oh man.
Yeah.
He's like on my list, man.
Oh yeah? I'll introduce you.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that would be amazing.
He's amazing.
Dude,
yeah.
Like I know his whole journey, like ridiculousness. Rob's big. I'm just like such a fan, you know, like. And then he talks about quantum, you know, the quantum field, like.
Yeah.
Like and then him and Craig, like I'm a huge fan. If you can connect me.
I connected Craig to him. I'll connect you to him.
I'd be grateful.
I'll put him on your podcast.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So she got here late. What's your name?
I'm so.
Yoshi? Good to meet you. I'm Darren.
Hi, I'm Aaron. Hi. Welcome.
I'm Kate. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Yoshi, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a lot.
Good. Well, give me one. Give me one.
I'm still building up myself because, like how, okay, my thought is how started to discipline yourself.
How do we start believing in ourselves or not?
Discipline.
Oh, discipliners.
Discipline.
Yeah. So discipline's interesting because I believe in, we were talking earlier about adherence. So discipline to me is not eating too much would be a discipline. You don't eat all the time, but to be able to be disciplined, to me adherence is more important than discipline. Adherence is the consistent behavior of number one, remembering what I'm supposed to do every day, to aggregate upon itself, to compound and accelerate my life and expand, and two, actually doing it in a prioritized way. 2022, I'll be talking about priority a lot because priority to me is the cure of procrastination. That the majority of people don't get what they want in life because they haven't taken the time to know what they want in order to prioritize it. So what happens is there's so much opportunity because of technology, because of the universe, because of social media, because of all these things, that we're now, if we don't know what I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving, I'm completely paralyzed. Or completely disjointed and separate because I'm trying to do everything, which doesn't work either, right? I'm just yes. And I see a lot of people I coach in that situation as well. So priority and adherence are two things, you know, that go together, but will change your life. It will create discipline for you. And the idea of the mathematical compound, the rule of 72, I explained today, probably the best I have. So Einstein said, if you can get 1% better in a period of time, it will take 72 of those periods to double whatever it is. And this could be anything that you have. Money could be a good habit. You know, it gets easier and easier. What he doesn't really take into effect is that the segmentation of 72 should get quicker and quicker. So if you can get 1% better in a month, so 31 days, you know, the next 1% that you get better could happen in 29 days, then 28, 27, 26. Well, what happens, it doesn't take you 72 months anymore, right? 90% of it's gonna take you, you know, longer, but then it starts getting really fast and doubles really fast. And I've seen both times of my success have been attributed to adherence, a type of discipline, right? To remember, what does remember mean? Come together, recollect, come together, remind. That means there must be one mind. Remind, remember, recollect what it is that I want. Why? Because then if I know what I want, now I have to do is put my radar up on what triggers me to not do what I want, which are usually ego-based triggers. So people trigger me, If I went around and said, give me the one person that walked through that door that you would be triggered by, you each would have somebody.
Hear that?
Right? Triggered good or bad, right?
Good, yeah.
I could ask you, give me one person in your family, right, that would trigger you. I watch my two older, daughters, and I know they can trigger each other. One little comment. I can say the exact same thing to my daughter that my other daughter says to her, and she will giggle. But if my other daughter says it to her, it's a World War III, because she's triggered. But we allow people. So once you have adherence and prioritize what you want, now all you have to do is identify triggers, so you can spend minutes and moments in the ego-based consciousness creating interference. And instead of now, I love the word ease and dis-ease, right? Disease, because we were born to be at ease, and what's creating our dis-ease? What is it? Those triggers that lead us to ego-based consciousness accelerate in the wrong direction and create more interference and slow down what we already are.
You think we choose those subconsciously?
Oh yeah, I think there's 3 levels of choosing. 1, consciously we choose it sometimes.
Yeah.
Then 2,
You've been married
40,000, yeah.
We're all with your wife sometimes.
Yeah, right, or anyone.
Or anyone, yeah.
Yeah, and then subconsciously for sure, but the most difficult is the quantum nature that we carry, the energetic and genetic inheritance that we have, the DNA, the energy, the frequency that creates characteristics, personality traits, obsessions, and addictions, and that unconsciously, from some childhood trauma or a trauma that may have occurred in a past life, you're triggered, and you don't even know why. Those are the ones where you really have to do a lot of self-development to see enough patterns, not even within you, but within other people, other generational people in your family, to start saying, why do I feel this way when I'm here, or when this occurs? Oh, I know why. Like I worked through an issue of being responsible for my mom, and I had a childhood trauma of being abused as a kid, and I subconsciously and unconsciously, blacked it out for a long time. And then when it reared its head as I got older, I started realizing, like, it's okay, like, because my mom did so much for me that in my mind I was protecting her by not telling her what was going on, because she already had enough to deal with. And then subconsciously and unconsciously, so mad at her for not protecting me, because she was busy with 6 kids, 2 jobs, feeding us, doing all those things. These are the type of like really hard things to get to, that when you do, all of a sudden you've cleared more interference and you're closely connected to a higher power that raise your and elevate your frequency or awareness to be able to make better decisions and live in the abundance. That whole idea of having faith in something all-knowing, all-powerful, loves you as much as you love your own children. So like if my kid needed it, I would give it to them immediately. If I felt that this would give them something to promote them, I would do it in a second. If I could give them something to protect them, I would do that. If I needed to protect them from something, I would do that as well. And the way that I would do it is, if my son tried to put his hand in a fire, as fast as I could, I'd slap his hand out of the way and scream at him to stop. In his mind, he would think I punished him. This is exactly what occurs in life. If you don't have that faith, it won't work for you. But if you have the faith, simply there's something bigger than you, in whatever religion, philosophy, or spirituality you believe in, I believe you have to believe something's bigger than you, that's omniscient, all-powerful, and all-knowing, that cares more about you than you care about your own children. Then every time you have a setback, a failure, a mistake, pain, you know that you're being protected or promoted instead of punished. And so your whole perspective changes, because you start getting excited and you get back to center faster and figure out. See, if you could give me one quality of people to work for me, I would have only one quality. The top quality, fast learner. Fast learner, I can't think of a better thing to have for someone to work with me. Because that means that they could handle mistakes, more of them, and learn from them faster and get farther. Fast learning, you gotta have an open mind, open heart, and open hands to fast learn, but fast learning, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't care. You can go on YouTube and learn skills.
Yeah.
I can help. I already have the knowledge of who. I'm probably 1 degree of separation from everyone.
Yeah.
But the knowledge of what, you can get all over the place as well. But I can't teach a non-fast learner. I mean, if you're a fast learner and you have a desire that you must be what you can be, that's what makes the difference for you and for others working with you to collaborate.
But you were talking about discipline though, right? Sorry.
Yeah, discipline.
So the discipline though, because we all have that issue, right? Like to stay disciplined on our vision. To me, it comes from vision. Like you have to know where you're going so that you can take the right action so that it aligns with the vision. Like you talked about your AAA strategy.
Right.
I flip to that. It's like alignment, action, adjustment. You know, if you're not aligned with that vision, that's when the discipline can waver because you're like, I'm not sure what to do.
No.
I'm not sure which direction to go in. So to me, I think that vision is so important, like to start the day with like, what direction am I going in? Where am I trying to go?
And remember, governments are built on that exact aspect that you are going to conform. So most people will not take the energy to know what they want, get aligned with it, take action, and prepare for adjustment. And so what they do is they take advantage of the psychology that you won't do that. So what will people do if they don't have that vision or discipline to stay in the vision? They'll conform to going to work when they're told. They'll live like tubes. Food in, food out. That's why 5% of the people are non-conformists, and they're the 5% that always will succeed. 95% that conform will end up with nothing by the time they're 65.
Yeah. I think that's huge. It's a great question by you.
Yeah. Hi, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. Hi, guys.
Bless us with a question. Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Hey, I'm Aaron. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Come on in. We got plenty more. Jose, can you see?
It's funny you mentioned about purpose because, you know, it's one of those things. Was there ever a time that you really knew you were so purposely driven and you got to the outcome or even close to the one that you were looking for? You know, a lot of the times bringing back that feeling can happen in a lot of ways. You know, otherwise, you know, if going looking inward of what your purpose is going to be goes a very long way on just getting very clear on what that is. And if you don't know, I mean, there's always one little thing, you know.
So I believe
one little thing.
your purpose is your purpose, and
Yeah.
applying your why to your purpose is the key. Your purpose is your purpose.
That's it. I'm rich again because I found a dime today. Honestly, seriously, that's how I'm always feeling that way. I'm stoked on that, you know. But there's a lot of ways. I mean, I look at like I came from college baseball, failed minor leagues, went right into Silicon Valley because there was jobs, sales, and worked for a Xerox startup company where this guy was like an old school Xerox guy that trained us up really good. I'm in we're Stanford guys. I went to Chico State. I don't know if you guys know that. But it was a lot.
Pioneer days.
Yeah, oh boy. That was gone by the time I got there.
I'm old.
Fortunately.
I attended
It
those.
was after training, it was like, all right, everyone's got 5 days to get me a meeting with a C-level exec. I mean, like half everybody quit. And I just remember saying, well, I guess I know what I have to do because I want to keep this damn job and learn. And I banged phones. And by the next day, I got so many people calling me back that I was like, well, here's what's on the calendar, sir. And it just set me off. That was the one little linchpin for me that was able to get me over that hump, just knowing that I could do it. And it wasn't, you know, I swear, it wasn't like facing a future big leaguer on the mound or anything like that. It was really doing that for me that gave me that ability to say, all right, what's next?
That's all it takes. Paul, you got a question?
I do, man. I don't know, maybe some of you already asked this.
Go ahead.
What would be your advice for the biggest mistake to watch out for in business?
Great question. So it's hard to determine the biggest mistake, so let me give you, one of the things. Number one, do not attach your emotions to an outcome when you're in a startup business, right? So the minute you have an outcome, especially a quantitative outcome of dates, times, and amounts, the minute you set that, you start creating more and more resistance to getting it. So think in the terms of speed and attaching your emotions to how efficiently, effectively, and statistically successful you can do what it takes to do one thing. And this goes in line with, I talk about things aggregating, compounding on itself. Your number one objective is to stay in business. That's it. Because I promise you, determinative upon how fast you learn, that if you stay in business and you never go out of business, eventually your business will aggregate. It will continue to double and double and double. And as soon as you get to the 90% mark, you start really seeing how beneficial that is in business. There's only one reason people go out of business is they quit on that business because they're not allowing the business to evolve. See, I don't define a business by the LLC it's given. I don't define by the topic that it's given. See, it's almost like the Lego movie, right? What's his name, Mr. Business or whatever? He's just business. And so you want to stay in business. And yes, sometimes the entity that you took investment in and whatever, you come to an opportunity where that opportunity is not as good as something else, but you haven't lost the business. You've lost the entity, you may have lost the money, but if your objective is just to stay in business, you'll keep evolving and aggregating and exponentially growing. So the key to doing that, in my opinion, is learning to trust everyone, but vet the shit out of them.
I think also a lot of people forget this, why they started and that they're in service. I mean, that was one that I've seen just so many times over, that it was like, oh, our stock price needs to be here, our revenue needs to be here, and it was like, well, we still have customers. We still have people that rely on
Of course,
this
yeah.
product.
At a later
do
stage.
What they need to do.
Yeah, at a
In
later
their life to make
stage.
them go home safe, walk each other home. You know, we need that.
Yeah, I mean, think about the businesses that were successful that didn't stay in business at a later stage. Blockbuster. See, Blockbuster took on the perspective I have of staying in business and being in business and making sure you're in business, so that when Netflix, would have come to them, they would have either said, "We're going to buy you," because they weren't asking for that much, or two, they would have said, "We're going to start our own."
Remember the Silicon Valley lobbies? You'd see a lobby with a stack of Netflix just sitting there.
Yeah. Well, in my life, so I ran, the first smartphone division at Samsung. We won Best of 1999, Windows C device. And at that time, through 99 to 2000, whatever, I met Sean Parker, who, Napster. And him and I were in the same position because we had pretty notable positions. We were both very young. We both raised a lot of money in the Silicon Valley, Sequoia, Texas Pacific, Amarillo, all these people. But in the end, we both failed. Right, we both failed. Samsung moved over to, the flip phone and became the second largest manufacturer of phones, instead of sticking to the convergence device, which was later called a smartphone. And Napster obviously failed. But, I love that line because, I partied with Sean, I've been with Sean, and when he said, they're giving him shit about Napster, and he goes, well, I don't see you walking into any Tower Records anymore. So he had it. I don't see people using flip phones anymore. Right? I had a vision, and I stayed in business though. Even though I lost my job, and I stayed in business. I took all of that, and guess what? I ended up, if you can't prove, talk about staying in business. So although I got asked to leave Samsung because, it got too big for me and wasn't in my specialty. But the reason I got hired by Leigh Steinberg, the sports agent, I had a law degree, so did about 100,000 people that want to work for Leigh Steinberg had law degrees. I played college sports. I was an average Division III athlete, so I wasn't even a Chico State baseball player, right? So there's plenty of athletes that were better than me. I was a customer of Leigh's, meaning I hired guys for signings and appearances, so I knew contracts, but trust me, many better labor lawyers than me, antitrust lawyers than I am. The reason Leigh Steinberg hired me 48 hours after he met me is because I had such an incredible technology background, and he believed that the future of sports would have technology as its backbone, and that he wanted to get ahead of the game.
Which funny is during that
So I
time-
stayed in business through skills, knowledge, and desire.
It's funny during that time, you know, that smartphone, it's not really a failure, it was just a
Yeah.
passing, really, but it scared off a couple other, because I worked for this company called Documentum that
Yeah.
was EMC at the time. And we had a couple deals going with a couple Unix-based phones. That
Yeah.
They just bailed out after you guys were done. They're like, no, and Lucent was actually one of them. Where
Yeah.
you think they should have.
There's so many. I will tell you, I was a little frustrated because if you guys remember the Razor, when I was I wanted to start from the PDA. I'm like, we should phones. I was the one, because it was the beginning of the phone side, right? That this shouldn't just be a PC-E phone. It shouldn't just be a computer phone. People still just want to use voice. And I found the form factor for that Razor, and they're like, that'll never work. And then Motorola licensed it, and the Razor did really well.
Why can't we build a phone in U.S.?
Well, Qualcomm tried the brick phone. There's been a few tries. So, but anyway, yep,
I got a question.
yep.
How can someone practice becoming more grateful?
I love that question. So, how can someone practice being more grateful? Well, I created a challenge for people to help them be more grateful. So I came up with 14 different things to do that have helped me change my life. You know, simply just saying thank you before you go to bed, or thank you before you go to bed when you wake up. I promise you will change your life. And you, Colleen and Matt and some of the others have been on my group calls, and they listen to these people. And I have to remind myself that, shit, I got to keep telling people to say thank you, because these people are on my calls and on my clubhouses going, oh my God, I'm doing your challenge. It changed my life. I said, I don't know what it is. I started saying thank you, and I ended up with this unbelievable job. And it's the most important practice. Gratitude reminds yourself that you have the ability to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything. It's more than just seeing the glass half full. It's clearing the interference between you and everything, and having that power. So, you know, if you're not on the 14-day gratitude challenge, I'll send you the link. There's some cool exercises in there, but probably quantitatively the most valuable thing I can give to people, and you can share with your friends and family. It's free. That's what amazes me about gratitude, right? 0.1 seconds it takes to say thank you. It's free. There's no physical exertion. And almost every world thought leader that has ever lived tells you that gratitude is the most important thing. And yet, we can't even say, it took me 9 months to say thank you for every day for 30 straight days. And yet, all of those facts, I've studied physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics, and all of it are aligned with gratitude is the most powerful thing, and yet I still have difficulty remembering it every day. Or, I do remember it every day, now I'd say all the time, meaning, lessons in life, you're gonna forget every lesson you ever learned. It amazes me how many times I'm not grateful, that I'm taking for granted, not just what other people are wishing for, but that I'm wishing for. And one thing I like about the pandemic is that Deepak Chopra told me this, right? First time on Earth, everyone in Earth is worried about human existence at the same time. Everyone on Earth has a consciousness of the value of what we all take for granted of our breath, right? The four: food, water, air, and sleep. Only 4 things you need to live. If you have enough food, enough air, enough water, and enough sleep, you will live a long time. That's all you need. But yet, I didn't get into the college I want, cost kids their lives. They'll take their lives. I didn't get the job they want. My wife left me. Sure sounds like you're taking for granted what other people are wishing for, because you got plenty of food, plenty of drink. I had one of my clients call me the other day, and he's like, I don't want them coming after my kids' money. What am I living for? I'm like, holy moly, have we lost our perspective?
I'd like to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Actually. Speaking of perspective, and following up on what you were saying about challenges for business, the idea of mission, right? Because your mission is, I want to inspire 1 billion people
Over.
on the planet. Over.
And don't limit me.
That's really nice. I really like that. I feel like people in the space of personal
Is that guy,
development,
Jesus, that guy looking for us? He was looking in the window.
I feel like people in that space, we share that mission. I share that mission. But there should be other micro missions too, like
Right.
day-to-day missions, right? Like in my business, I'm a business owner. In my business, one of my challenges is to have all my employees buy into the mission of my business on a day-to-day basis, right? So like there's macro and micro vision missions,
Yeah.
right? So can you talk like a little bit about that and just how
For
to
sure.
how to separate a little bit, because the macro vision should drive the micro visions.
So yeah, so what I believe is almost inverse to that. But you need to have a macro vision, meaning that I have these 5 daily practices. The first practice is the most important. So I take inventory every day of what I want.
Yeah, I like
Simply, so I know I have 24 hours
Yeah.
of man-made constructive time to be as active as I can. Activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for. Activity that I sleep with, activity I plan, don't have planned, all these different things. So if I just take a few moments to think about this is what I want personally,
Yeah.
spiritually, giving and receiving wise. If I do that, then I will be able to look and put it into the context when I develop that. What are my so if my long-term goal is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, I know I'm gonna have to live a long time. If I wanna live a long time, I know I'm gonna have to put health as a personal priority of what I want. So therefore, because of what I want, I have to put into account my intermediate and long-term goals. Then I have to go back to the primary day stuff, the micro goals, and say, okay, here's how I'm prioritizing these. Number 1, health. 2, family. 3, activity I get paid for. And it's open every day. You know, it's not set every single day that that's true, but I review it every single day. And that prioritization that I keep talking about is truly, it not only is the cure to procrastination, but is the accelerant to everything that you want. The better you prioritize, not only the more you will get done towards your objective that day, open to being a hypocrite and change your mind tomorrow, learning lessons fast, etc. But it also allows you to achieve what you want to achieve directly, right? That prioritization, so what do I mean by that? If you come up with a well-developed plan, God's gonna laugh at you and throw shit in your way, right? You have a flat tire, it doesn't affect you at all because you know your priorities. So now you're reevaluating, okay, I'll call to get the tire fixed, I'll do this, but I'm going back to this while I'm waiting. Or I can't do this, I can't do priority 2 and 3, but 4 is still available for me on cell phone. It's very interesting how prioritization, which is based off of these micro goals, which are based off of immediate and long-term macro goals, but it doesn't happen. Most people will not, majority of people on earth will not be able to tell you what they want today.
Right.
Most people can't tell you if I ask, what are you doing today? They can't tell me. I had one of my coaching clients today ask me, so he's from London, what do you got for the rest of the day? And I railed it off to him. You were sitting there, right? And he's like, oh my God, I wish I could get to there where I would have that much to do. And I'm thinking, this is a slow day, man. This is not, for me, I purposely had downtime because I've been traveling so much. I'm going to do Meltzer Island next week. I'm going to Bora Bora for the holidays. I'm like trying to get things organized.
You say Meltzer Island?
Yeah, so we're doing a mastermind. They rented a private island by Nectar in the BVI. Yeah, Buck Island's the name of it, but I didn't know they were gonna name it Meltzer Island. But yeah, it's sold out. We probably won't do Meltzer Island on an island because COVID has made it really, really difficult and expensive to get everybody there. But we're gonna do more of these. It's 3-day mastermind, one-on-one, like all type, plus just bonding, getting on an island. So yeah, it's my own little Nectar Island.
Are you gonna say what up to Richard Branson on the?
Exactly.
UFC did it, you know.
Yeah, no, I told them I'll show up, you know. You pay me, I'll show up, I'll help people. That's a good deal for me.
Bora Bora, brush up on French.
Yeah, Bora Bora is all vacation. Well, I vacation every day, so I shouldn't say all vacation, but it's just a prioritization, right? So when I go to Bora Bora, instead of the majority of my daytime will be spent with activity I don't get paid for, the majority of it, not all of it, but also there's a time change, right? So I'll be able to, from approximately 3 a.m. in Bora Bora until 10 a.m., get 7 hours of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude of activity I get paid for. And then the majority of the rest of the day will simply be activity I don't get paid for. And nobody else will know the difference, and everyone will think, how does he do it? It's so bad. No, I just get more done. I have no balance. Yeah, there's no balance. It's out of balance every day in some way. It's just that I get so much done that other people are just amazed that I spend so much time with my children. Well, yeah, because I do everything else.
But you talk about speed, and it's also slow compared to the higher realm.
Right.
It really is.
Well, and that's a good point. I'm going to touch on that because that's a great point. It's a very wise statement in a very simple form. This is one of the key constructs of the speed of light. Study the speed of light. The speed of light is what dictates time. 24 hours of man-made constructive time. The time it takes a particle of light to leave the sun to meet the earth is about 186,000 miles per second. But that's what our clock is based off of. And so we can be active in the speed of light, right? Active in pragmatic world. But the higher realm is what I call the speed of thought. The only thing that vibrates or is faster than the speed of light is the speed of thought. If you don't understand or don't believe me, it's really simple. All of us right now could close our eyes and in 0.1 seconds, we could go back and be with dinosaurs. That's the speed of thought. Now, in the man-made constructive time, we cannot go back 1,000,000 years to dinosaurs. You were driving the Tyrannosaurus, you were on top of the, right? That's not happening. Or we could go 1,000,000 years in the future and we all have our own planet together, Meltzer planet. In 1 second, we can close our eyes and do that. So what I believe the secret to productivity, accessibility, and gratitude is in the speed of light is to use your thought in order to effectuate more data points in the time construct. What does that mean? Refocusing. So if you can practice paying attention and giving intention to one thing and then moving to another and quickly getting back to this, the human mind, the speed of thought, can gather enough data to see him over here, you here, her here, and him here, you shaking your head, and still yet I'm speaking. Although people would say that's some sort of multitasking, it's not. It's a motor skill of my brain that I practiced for years and years of refocusing to focus back, focus back, focus back, focus back. And when I'm really focusing, my main goal is my speech. But while I'm speaking, I'm refocusing all these different things. And because refocus happens faster than the speed of light, that I'm actually doing more things in that time frame. And when you start training your brain to refocus, your productivity, accessibility, and gratitude go way up. You can, I mean, think about it. Just in the presence of, I can now do my emails. I was in India today with a really big Ann Rosenberg and Shiv Kemka, like really big pitch competition. Like one with, they have the large, over $100 million companies are pitching all the way down to startups. And the whole time I was judging, I was on camera. The whole time I was doing my emails, checking my phone and doing all of that. And still listening to the pitch and still had probably the most constructive comments and conversation while I was doing it. And it's not multitasking.
It's meta-awareness.
It's meta-awareness. It's creating and understanding data and processing the data at the speed of the higher thought in the ability to put it into the man-made construct. And people, and it folds over into like weird, like I do so many things that are just different now than before in my own life. So I don't compare myself to others, my own life, that it's just you start building on it and going, why didn't I do this before? And like, I'm always amazed like how much I get done because even a simple one, like a cabinet in my house has been like all the wrapping paper, everything's a mess, the holidays are coming up, and it bugged me. And I literally had like 13 minutes and I had to do my coaching call, whatever. I'm like, why don't I just do it while I'm on put my coaching call on speaker and see how quickly I can get this done. Meanwhile, I was checking my emails on there and I finished all in 13 minutes. And I'm thinking, I know people that would tell me on a Sunday, hey, I can't go out because I have a coaching call. I got to clean out my cabinet and do my emails.
Most people can't do that, though.
They can if they, like, I couldn't do it 13 years ago,
Yeah.
but doing it every day for 13 years, you know, it's like pole vaulting, it's like baseball, it's like golf.
It's the comfort zone, anxiety zone learning.
Right, you keep learning. And the thing is, most people will quit because they don't see the result.
Yeah.
See, I don't ever attach to the result. I just don't want to quit. I just keep knowing. I have such faith in aggregation and compound interest that I don't have to see anything. And then ironically and counterintuitively, it comes faster because of my faith. I'm still doing what it takes, the law of Goya.
Yeah.
I'm not lazy. What are we on time? 3:35. What time? Yeah, we'll do 5 more minutes because I know Taylor's waiting. So, one more question. Question, Jose?
No, I'm just hearing so far. The gentleman over there, I was outside, just got off of work, and he told me about
He kidnapped
this
you?
meeting. No, didn't kidnap me, but just told me about this meeting.
Oh, cool.
So I'm here now.
Thank you. There's no accidents. Matt, last question.
Prioritization. How do you prioritize your tasks, and how can we get in the practice of knowing what we need to prioritize each day?
Yeah, so have any of you gotten my 5 daily practices? Yeah, so I would send that to you. We have a template. It changed my life. So the 5 daily practices is a sheet that I keep out. It's on my notes in my phone just to remind me, because remember, adherence takes 1. We have to remember to do it, and then we have to be able to do it in a prioritized way. That's adherence. Adherence is the glue that gives you the compound interest acceleration, the faith that I don't see the result, but I know it's coming. So I'm doing what it takes. I'm adhering to this. So daily practices are 1, know your what. 2, know your who you can help and who can help you. Knowing your how, which is with the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success. Understanding the man-made construct of time and thought. Understanding activity have planned, don't have planned, sleep. All these different things are in how am I going to get it done. But if you have an idea of what you want, who you can help, and how you're going to get it done, then you can prioritize your now. You will never be able to prioritize if you don't know what you want. It gets easier if you know who can help you and who you can help, because that's now giving you a valuation, because some things will take on a greater priority if you, for example, can save the world. This now will take a priority over what you thought yesterday was your priority. Oh my God, I accidentally found the cure for coronavirus. You know, I ate a banana peel on accident and all of a sudden it went away like this. This could actually happen. This is the way the universe works. So for me, you know, what, who, and how, and then my prioritization comes in. Then once I have my prioritization, I apply my why to it. It's so much more inspirational because I've cleared the interference that's created by not knowing what I want, not knowing who I can help or who can help me, and not knowing how to get it done, or some inkling of which way to go to get it done. You can prioritize.
Which is daily inventory of values.
Yeah.
You said health, family, business. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good start.
Yeah. Well, look, I love, you know, the more that I do my own work to simplify things. So people tell me, say, thank you before you go to bed and wake up. Make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun. Be efficient, effective, statistically successful. You know, for me, I look at things really simply. Did I do my best? People say, how do you evaluate your day? Did I do my best? Did I learn lessons? And did I have fun? I got that from coaching Little League to a bunch of 6-year-olds when they're like, you know, everyone looking at me, what are we supposed to do? I'm like, all I'm asking is all you kids do your best, learn something, and have fun. That's all I want. We'll win plenty of games. If you do your best, you learn lessons fast, and have fun, this will be a winning season.
Yeah, that's it.
And I started wait, that's a good advice. I should use that on my own life, right? I'm just doing my best. And it's like, you know, then if you do that, rule number 6 applies, which is the best rule in life, right? Don't take yourself so seriously. I can't, like, the hardest part about getting as old as me is looking back and going, I can't believe how much time, energy, emotion, value, and money I've wasted on ego-based consciousness of the need. Like, I bring light to resentment now. And not to say that I'm not human. We have a friend, Costello, right? And this other guy called me for help with Gary Vee. And he's like, yeah, I was with Costello and Jim Leyritz, the Yankee, and, you know, Costello's going off on how you came to his house and, you know, stayed the night and, you know, that you used him. And I'm like, really? And he goes, and I told him, I said, did you invite him to your house? And he's like, yeah. He goes, so you invited him to a house to stay the night and eat your food and drink your wine, and somehow he's using you because he said yes? So I was resentful and offended. But I just stopped and I breathed and I said, I know that he's unhappy. He's divorced, his life, right? And he's projecting it.
Yeah.
And so the best thing I can do is not, because my initial reaction is call him and say, dude, we're friends. Like, why would you do that, right? And then I'm like, that's not what the old Dave would do that. And then instead, I just pray for his happiness. I know that if he was happy, he wouldn't say or attack other people about silly things. And the truth is, I'm not taking myself seriously, right? What am I supposed to do? And we used to, it would eat me alive, you know. And look,
How quickly that prayer got to him.
yeah, and 10% of the people are not going to like me no matter what. 10% of the people will love me. No, it's my frequency. It's the 80% that I want to connect with. But I'm not going to give any energy. I'm not going to let them steal my joy. The 10%. I'm not going to feed what bleeds me. I'm going to feed what feeds me.